for game night, getting you ready for Sacramento Kings basketball.
He's got the bucket!
Game night is presented by Power Business Technology, your locally owned and managed Toshiba copier dealer. Contact them at 844-POWER-BZ or visit them at powercopiers.com. Here's your host, Scott Marsh, alongside the high flyer, Henry Turner.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you. Welcome into game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Scott Marsh along with the high flyer, Henry Turner. Back-to-back games. Good to have you back in here again, Henry. We were just talking less than 24 hours ago, and the Kings go down to Phoenix and get a nice overtime victory last night.
I like that game, Scooter.
Yeah.
I like the game because, it showed me a lot of different things about this ball club. We're still not particularly shooting the ball well.
Not at all.
But still able to pull out games. And the way the Kings closed out that game the other night was very, very impressive. DeMar DeRozan ran into the phone booth, put on his Superman cape, and he came out and he was like Superman. And then all of a sudden, De'Aaron Fox said, hey, D, I want a piece of this. Give me a piece.
You go back to being Clark Kent for the moment. I'll be Superman.
Right. Let me get some.
Yeah.
And, to have two guys that they definitely came up big when you needed them to, that just goes to show the growth of this team and the depth that we have on this ball club now. Still not shooting the ball well, but being able to win.
No doubt about it. But when we got DeMar DeRozan, this is exactly what we thought would happen. The best 1-2 closing punch in the league. And literally they were, because nobody else scored in that late stage other than those two. But combined, they were unstoppable.
Unstoppable. I mean, and the way they get it done, Scott, it's so much of a contrast to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Debo, you can't speed him up.
Nope.
He never gets erratic. He's methodical. He
can't block a shot.
He gets right to his spot. He raises up. He elevates. He knocks it down. And De'Aaron Fox, nobody in the league can stay foot for foot with this guy. I mean, when he gets ready to blow past you, cross you over, he can get to wherever he wants to, and he's getting to be very adept at getting to that little mid-range spot and pulling up and knocking shots down also.
No doubt about it. All right, Henry and I were with you until 4:30 today, getting you ready for Kings Live pregame. 5 o'clock tip tonight. The Kings are in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. Our first look this season at Wemby. We'll get into all of that and a lot more. We'll take your phone calls as well, 916-339-1140. And we're up and running in our YouTube chat room as well. You can comment in there. We'll be talking during the breaks in that chat room also. We talked about DeRozan and Fox, and certainly the point production that fourth quarter was special.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the rebounding numbers were even more special in the case of De'Aaron. I mean, 11 rebounds last night to go along with those 8 assists.
Hey, Scott, we talk about how this team is going to manufacture these wins. And for the Kings to be able to win, especially playing this small ball type lineup that they do, they got the rebound by committee.
Yep.
You just can't say Sabonis grab them all. And you know what? And let's salute Keegan Murray, because Keegan Murray has been a terror on the rebounding side. He has really stepped his game up. So when you get guys like Fox coming in getting 10, you might get DeMar to come in and give you 6 or 8, and Malik will come in and give you 6 or 8. Now you can win the rebounding game.
No doubt. They had 49 rebounds to the Suns' 40, 3 players in double figures. We're used to Domas doing that, Keegan stepping up, and then De'Aaron certainly helping out a ton. Now, I have to say, I did get scared late in that game when they called that foul before the ball was inbounded. You get the one free throw, you're tied up, you're looking at an L versus a W late in regulation.
And, Scott, it was a couple of calls that were made the other night.
The 24-second shot clock?
I mean, yes, very. I'm like, what? When was the dude jumped out of bounds. How can you say he had possession of the basketball?
It was unbelievable.
And then that was the worst scenario, Scott, that could have happened for the Sacramento Kings. He runs out of bounds, throws it back in. Bradley Beal catches it, shoots a desperation 3, and Herter fouls him.
No doubt. No doubt. The and one.
The only thing that could have been worse is Mike Brown got a tech and got thrown out.
Mike Brown did not get a tech or throw out, but he did get his 100th win.
Yes,
That's a nice milestone for him in year 3.
You know what? Yes. And, I know he's like, okay, 100 win. It's cool. But, the main thing for him is this team getting to where they need to be. And, watching them and seeing how they performed, I know Mike had to be, pleasantly pleased with this team. They're still not doing things the 100% the way he want them done, but I know he's seeing them grow and seeing things move in the right direction.
No doubt. And again, they got up the 10 extra threes. We talked about that yesterday. They had only 26 attempts on Friday, got the 37. Obviously shot it better than on Friday night. I mean, that's not saying anything. But at least they did make 11, and obviously Kevin Huerter had a nice night from beyond the arc.
I'll tell you what, that first half, Kevin Huerter really carried this team. Yeah. Nobody shot the ball well. Kevin Huerter was the only one that was knocking it down from three. And, Phoenix didn't come out and light it up either. But the thing about it is that Kevin Huerter did enough to keep us in that game.
Yeah, he did. And it was just great. I mean, obviously, we're all rooting for Kevin to get back to where he was from a couple of years ago. And he's showing us signs that he can.
He's showing the signs that, he can shoot the ball. Scott, my main thing with Kevin wasn't even shooting the basketball, because I understand shooting a ball can just change at a drop of a hat. My main thing for him was on the defensive side. Mm-hmm. Stop being the go-to guy. Stop being the guy that everybody picked on. Start bringing a little bit more energy, a little bit more effort. Even if you got to foul some guys, make them respect you on the defensive side of the ball.
No doubt. He had a couple nice stops in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he did. He had a couple of blocks. He had a couple of block shots. So I do see him giving a little bit more energy on the defensive side.
Yeah, agree with all of that. Obviously, it took a lot out of the Kings to get the win. Not only did they go an extra 5 minutes, but they stretched out their starters. DeRozan went nearly 43 minutes. Keegan went 43 minutes. De'Aaron was plus 40 in the game, and Domas was nearly 40. We'll see what price they pay tonight. And just in general, this has been the thing with Mike Brown early in the year. And we understand because the bench hasn't been there for them. He's had to play these starters, but he's going to have to figure out over time this season how to get more rest for the starters.
Well, the main problem was Malik Monk went down early.
True.
Malik went down early. So, it was a situation to where they needed this game.
Yep.
All right. They just, lost a tough game, the other day. So
a division team.
Right. So, you can't really fathom going and losing another one. So you got to run your big dog. We talk about it all the time. This is a win or lose league. Make or take league. You have to be able to generate wins.
True, but he can't play these guys 40 minutes a night over 82 games. And right now he's got a couple guys who are top 10 in minutes in the league.
Not over 82, but I tell you what, they couldn't afford to drop another one.
No.
That close, that tight.
And there's no doubt that if you had to choose getting tonight's game or last night's game, I know they're all 1 out of 82, but you'd take the Phoenix game over San Antonio.
I would too, because I would think that, San Antonio is not a Phoenix. And then too, we didn't, we found out late that Kevin Durant wasn't going to be there. And if you're going to take advantage of a situation like that, you much rather get that Phoenix game and say, okay, now whatever happens is going to happen with San Antonio. Now, we don't know, Scott. These guys ain't played a bunch of games. It ain't like they logged in 55, 60 games right now.
No, it's early.
I mean, we're into our 11th game. Okay, hey, bro, I know I played you 40 minutes, but I'm going to need you tonight too.
I know 40 minutes would be nothing back in your ear. I get that. But with Monk now probably out for some extended time, I mean, guessing he's certainly not going to play tonight.
He rolled it good. He rolled it good.
That looked painful.
Yeah,
it looked really painful. I mean, and so right now the bench isn't giving you much at all. I mean, Trey Lyles is still trying to figure it out. Jordan McLaughlin really hasn't played much at all. I think he'll play more minutes now, obviously.
Right.
And they'll probably find some more room for Dougie Buckets too, but
they did run Dougie.
They did. He got a little over 10 minutes. And Mike Brown even said as much as that he probably should have played him a little earlier when they weren't shooting the three so well.
They did run Dougie, and Dougie is a guy that, kind of like, kind of like a lot of other players in the league, he really ain't seen a shot that he don't like.
No.
When he catches it, he lets it go. I mean, I thought Buddy Hield let it go. This kid lets it go quick.
If he shot it like Doug McDermott, you would feel that way.
But you know what? That's him, and that's his thing. That's
the Kings too.
Yes, that's what has kept him in this league. So you know what? I'm not mad at Doug. That's what you do. You keep letting it fly. At the end of the day, Keon is seeing a couple of minutes,
and he's going to see a lot more now.
He's going to see a lot more. But the thing about what we need, Scott, and I'm hoping that everybody come off the bench understands this. Malik gives us points. So we're going to need some of those guys to come off. They're going to have to really up their offensive productivity to try to make up for Malik.
No doubt. You really can't make up for Malik. We know that, just his passion, his energy, everything else.
No, but collectively as a team, Trey, I'm sorry, you got to step your game up a little more offensively.
Yeah.
KE, instead of coming in and facilitating, we're going to need you to knock down not one now, but maybe 2 or 3, shots now. C-Mac, we're going to need you to put the ball in the hole because we're losing a huge chunk of scoring with Malik not being there.
No doubt. And obviously it's been a slow start for Trey. He did have 6 rebounds, 8 points. He's working his way into it.
He seen one go down last night.
Yeah, he did. He got that 3.
I mean, and he pointed up to the sky like, oh my God, at least one. Let me see something.
Exactly. Just anything. And, sometimes, as it's one shot that gets you going.
Scooter, all it takes is one shot. You see that ball go through that net, and now you're feeling good.
No doubt. All right. What about the Suns? Obviously, they're without Durant for at least a couple of weeks. They were 8-1, only their second loss at home. It's a signature win for the Kings with or without Kevin Durant. What do you see from them, especially now that they're going to have to play extended time without KD?
Well, I still think they can get it done. I mean, they're a good basketball team. The Kings just went in there and took control and did what they needed to do. And, when you look at our basketball club, the Kings play very well on the road. Mm-hmm. It's not like the Suns had an easy task when Sacramento walked into the building, and Sacramento was pretty much healthy at that particular time. So, you can't put a knock on the Suns saying, okay, well, you let the Kings come in here and beat you at home. The Kings are a good team. But I do think that KD brings a whole different dynamic to your squad.
No doubt.
We talk about how it's going to be hard for us to replace Malik. Can you imagine what they're trying to do, trying to replace Durant?
They're not going to be able to. We know that.
At all.
No chance. But we did see Tyus Jones, and obviously we talked about what a great acquisition he is at the place.
I like what he brought.
Oh, yeah.
Tyus Jones is a guy that really fits in well there. Very good facilitator, still able to score the basketball too, and pretty decent on the defensive side. So, I think Tyus Jones is definitely an upgrade from what they had.
No doubt. We'll talk about defense when we come back. The Kings, their defensive numbers are pretty good right now. We'll get into that. That and a lot more when we come back. It's Game Nights brought to you by Power Business Technology. Experience for yourself how the Power of Family can help you with all your business copier needs. Give them a call today, 1-844-POWER-BZ, or go to powercopiers.com. More of Game Night right here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
All right. We are live on YouTube.
Kyle, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited. Yesterday was, the most fun game of the season for me. There's about 8 things that there were 8 crazy moments that are going to be lost to history just because the next thing after it was almost just as crazy.
All right. Well, give us 2 or 3.
The DeMar DeRozan step back and one in overtime.
Yep.
That one was probably the best shot of the game, and it's probably going to be lost to history just because it came after Fox hitting 4 shots in a row. We talked about this a little bit, the Keegan Murray foul at the end of the game after he tips in the basket, but there's an interesting strategy behind that, because if it's not called before the inbound pass, they get 2 free throws, and Devin Booker's a great free throw shooter. So it might have actually been.
It could have worked out to their advantage because Booker makes both and they lose.
Yeah, of course. And, Henry's not going to forget this one.
He was not doing that on purpose.
No, certainly not. But I just meant when they went to that long extended replay review, it seemed like a bad call, but it might have actually worked out in the Kings' favor. Did
you think it was a bad call on the spot?
Ooh, that was a tough call.
Yeah.
It was a very tough call. I definitely think that Devin Booker sold it.
Yeah.
For sure. Keegan held on to him a little bit, but Devin Booker definitely sold that foul.
Yeah, no doubt. He had his arm around him. I mean, if that were the NFL, it's PI.
Little bit, but
it's tough that late in the game to call it. I get it.
And then there's the one you guys were talking about, which was the Trey Lyles jumping out of bounds. The shot clock resets.
Right.
I went back and watched it. I didn't realize it reset twice. It reset when Lyles threw it back in bounds, and then it reset when Grayson Allen caught the ball. Yeah. So that was all very chaotic and crazy. And then because the Kings win, it's all lost to history, right? The Keegan foul, the crazy Trey Lyles throwing it out of bounds, the DeMar DeRozan shot that seemed like it was the biggest shot of the season, and then Fox hit 2 subsequent shots that were even bigger than that. It's such a fun game.
It was. Great closeout in overtime.
I honestly think, I liked all of that, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. If it wasn't for Keegan Murray and that tip, we wouldn't even be talking about none of this.
So true. And Domas was right there, too.
Domas was right there, but Keegan Murray got that tip.
He did.
And that helped. I was like, whew, thank God.
Yeah, J. Ross and I were talking about it after the broadcast was done. It's like the fact that the Miami tip-in and the Phoenix tip-in have happened this early in the season, basically kind of the same game situation twice. It's
for sure.
Especially, we looked it up. When Phoenix had a 7-point lead late in that game, I think it was after Plumlee got the and one. It was like a 90% chance Phoenix was going to win that game. The same thing that happened when Tyler Hero hits that 3 to put them up 5 with a minute to play.
All game.
Exactly. And both of them end not just in come from behind victories in the last couple minutes, but on the put back tip in with a second to play or less than 5 seconds.
And you know what? That's a class example of it ain't over till the fat lady sings.
That is true. And right now the Kings are making their own big plays, which is cool.
We had the stat yesterday about the Suns. They were 7-0 when they trail in the final 5 minutes of games, and now they're 7-1.
But they were 7-0 with Kevin Durant. Let's see what they're in the last 5 minutes without Kevin. That number is going to shrink drastically.
What a difference one guy makes, huh?
No doubt about that.
Absolutely. It's been it was such an interesting way to get there too. I mean, we're coming back in a second, but just the Tyus Jones of it all and him knocking down all the 3-pointers, it's just so interesting.
There was a lot to talk about there.
Card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Welcome back into Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Game Night being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of Stockton. Check out their full line of luxury vehicles at mbofstockton.com. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. Good discussion in our YouTube chat. We didn't talk about this, but obviously a key play was, we talked about, but not in depth, the foul with Keegan on Booker that was ruled before the ball was inbounded. So it's one shot in the ball. If that had been ruled after the ball was inbounded, Booker gets 2 free throws.
Right.
He probably makes both. The Kings are down 1. They have a chance to win it still, of course, but that was a huge call in the game. And maybe the fact in almost 99% of the situations, you do not want to have an inbound call before the ball's inbounded because you're giving them an extra point essentially. But in that situation, it might have worked out better for the Kings.
I think so, but even if let's take Scott, the worst case scenario. D Book went to the line and scored 2. The Kings are down 1. They still had 3.9 seconds.
They had enough time for sure. And they had a timeout.
They had enough time, and the way both of our guys was cooking, both the D's was cooking.
Sure.
I felt good about one of those 2 being able to make a shot.
No doubt. And then they got a good defensive stance. I mean, that 3-point look in the corner was okay, but it wasn't great. The Kings defense overall was great at the end of the game, and it was outstanding in overtime.
Played very good defense. That game, I'm not going to say all the games, but last night game, they played pretty good team defense. I'm still not, happy with the on-ball defense. I still see some guys getting broke down. I still see some guys, missing assignments. But, that will get better as time go on. But, if you are a decent team defender, you don't have to be Herculean on the ball because, if a guy gets past you, you have a teammate that's going to help you out.
No doubt. But if you look at the progression, year 1, they were amongst the league's worst defensive teams.
Oh, yeah.
Year 2 under Mike Brown, they were middle of the pack. Right now, they're hovering top 10 in defense. And if you can get top 10 in defensive rating, you're going to feel awfully good about that.
And the crazy thing about that, Scott, is that, top 10, you feel decent about your ball club.
Yeah.
But we see so many avenues and so many lanes to where this team can be better.
Sure.
So, that's another thing that makes me feel good about, okay, the Kings got to play small ball, but you have to, I keep saying you have to learn how to play. And the first thing you have to do is be able to play defense. It seems like they're moving in that direction.
No doubt. It's amazing when you really think about it. I mean, year 1 under Mike Brown, they're the best offensive rating in Kings history. And not that they won't be a very good offensive team this year, but they were getting it done by great 3-point shooting in large part. You know, Keegan had the incredible beginning to his career, more threes than any other rookie in NBA history. Monk, you look at that, the way they got it done, and now they've become a DeMar DeRozan mid-range game down the stretch with Fox, an excellent free throw shooting team, which was something we could not say about this team the first couple of years.
Let me ask you this, Scott. Do you think we because of that first year of how the Kings scored and shot the basketball, do you think that we overvalued how well this team should be able to shoot the ball? Because we're in our 11th game, and I know we have to shoot better than what we've been shooting.
No doubt.
You definitely have to, but do you think that this team is going to get back to where they were when they took that third place, shooting the basketball at a very high clip?
It doesn't feel like it right now, does it? I mean, you just look at their 3-point shooters.
I mean, but it's the exact same guys minus
close.
one.
It's close. You're right. Yeah, there isn't a Harrison Barnes who was a pretty good 3-point shooter. You're right. Can Kevin Huerter get back to where he was a couple of years ago?
Right.
He's showing signs of that.
Can Keegan Murray get back to where he was?
That's the one with Keegan. You know, he's being asked to do so much more now. Is that what's taking away from his 3-point shot?
I don't know. I mean, I really can't say. You know, the two guys that I put more of the onus on, because Kevin Huerter is getting back. He's knocking shots down. Yeah. It's 2 guys and a half.
Yeah.
Keegan Murray is the half, but De'Aaron Fox and Trey Lyles.
No doubt.
If those 2 guys get back to how they shot the ball, now we're a different ball club.
Yeah, for sure. And Fox struggled last night. He was 0-6 from distance. And he's a guy who's capable of being 35 to 38% from 3. Could it be as good as 40? I mean, and here's the other thing, too. Do you think his hand situation is bothering him that much? He'll never talk about it.
And you know what? That will be the $1 million question.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to say, yeah, it is, because, you know, no ball player would.
No.
Because he's out there. You know, I understand exactly what he's talking about, and I've been in that situation. You know, you're like, you know what? I can't complain about nothing because I'm out here. You know, if it was that bad, I wouldn't be able to play. So I'm just not making shots.
No doubt. Now, it's going to be taped. And from what we understand, it'll be taped the whole year. It's one of these things that is not going to heal for the remainder of the year. And that's pretty surprising, pretty remarkable when you think about we've got 6 months, right?
You know, it's one of those things. Yeah, it is for it to be that long. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those situations to where, Scott, you keep getting it hit, and it's on his shooting hand.
Yes.
So, you know, if I'm going to play defense, I'm going to keep hitting it, and it's still going to be swollen. It's still going to be aggravated. So it can linger on that long.
No doubt. And it's one thing, Sabonis had the similar thing with his thumb 2 years ago when he got hit around Christmas time in the Wizards game, right? And he just taped it up for the remainder of the year. He could have even considered surgery at that time, but just played through it. And we know how tough he is. It's one thing for Sabonis, who's playing inside primarily, not having to rely, although we're seeing a somewhat of a 3-point shot now. Different game between him and De'Aaron when we're talking about the hands.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you need much more of a touch when you're shooting the ball from the 3-point range than when you're down low just slinging it off the backboard.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a different type of feel. And, you know, whether it's bothering De'Aaron to the point to where, you know, it's affecting his shot, I know he's not going to leave the floor because of it, because he's like, I could still play, but he's just going to have to figure out a way to adjust to it.
No doubt. They said it would take at least a month of just healing with nothing else going on, and nobody can afford a month.
That's what he said. He said, you know, I can't take off a month. No. So, you know, I mean, it's one of those things where you just got to play through it.
He's just got to play through it. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk some Spurs. We're going to go around the league as well. It's our first look at Wemby this year. It's also our first chance to really talk about the Spurs and, you know, everything with Greg Popovich. It's obviously such a tough time in San Antonio right now. Health issues with Greg Popovich.
Have they actually said what?
Have not seen anything. It's just been so quiet other than just out indefinitely after suffering a sudden health issue. I mean, that was the report last week. And obviously the whole NBA world, the whole basketball world concerned for Greg Popovich. But you have to ask the question, of course, with this young team and with Wemby and his development and everything else, what that might mean. Popovich, 75 years old.
Well, you know what? I know Pop is probably pretty much everything to Wemby right now as far as, his development. But if Pop isn't there, he's got a guy there that will take very good care of the big fella. Chris Paul is one of the best floor generals this game has seen. So, no Pop there, but Chris knows exactly what needs to be done.
No, and it's very fortunate that they did make that signing in the offseason, especially with this. All right, we'll get into more of that. Like I said, we'll go around the league as well, get you caught up on all the other news, games going on. We'll continue to break down Kings and Spurs. Quick 2-game road trip. The Kings will be back at home on Wednesday. They'll take on Phoenix again on Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is Game Night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140.
All right. We are live on YouTube. Real quick, we just got a injury update on Malik Monk just in the last 30 minutes or so from the Kings. Kings guard Malik Monk suffered a moderate right ankle sprain during the second quarter against the Phoenix Suns. X-ray imaging revealed no structural damage. Monk will be out and reevaluated in 2 weeks.
So basically right where we're at with Kevin Durant right now.
I guess so.
Yep, standard 2-week evaluation. All right, so there you go. And of course, we'll have that when we get back on air. But 2 weeks, that's going to be tough for the Kings.
You want to know what I really think about this, Scott? I know they gave it 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of twisted ankles in my day, but I seriously doubt Malik Monk is going to stay out 2 weeks.
Okay. All right.
I'll give it a good week. To get it back right to where he can run or whatever. But Malik Monk loves to hoop, dude.
Yeah.
And I bet I'm kind of betting that he's like, nah, I'm not sitting out 2 weeks. That ain't gonna happen.
That's fair. Now, since it's early November, it might be more apt to be closer to the 2 weeks than it were March or April, possibly.
You have to. I'm with you on that, but I'm looking at the aspect of you got to think Malik Monk wasn't playing at the end of the season.
True.
He was out.
True.
So now he gets a chance to get back on the floor. This is the last thing he wants to happen. He's like, look, me going out cost me a 6th Man of the Year award. Do you think Malik wants to spend any time on the bench? No, he don't.
Not at all. And the other thing, of course, we saw what the Kings did without Monk late in the year last year. I mean, there's a great chance they would have been a playoff team if Monk had been available.
Right. Like I said, it's good as early, so if they have to, but I mean, knowing Malik Monk the way we know him, he's going to be just chomping at the bits. Now, the medical staff might keep him out, but he might be. I know he's going to be chomping at the bits, saying, "I'm ready to play."
Yeah, no, that'll be interesting to see. All right, what else we got going on in the chat, Kyle?
In the chat wise, shout out to Chris who's there in the chat with us, who's listening from Australia.
Wow.
So,
okay. What time is it in Australia right now?
I think it's got to be about
15, 16
5 a.m.
right?
Yeah. It's got to be like 5, 6 a.m. right now, something like that. But anyways, shout out to Chris.
Yep.
We can talk a little bit about the Spurs. I know we'll probably save that for later on in the show, but I don't know. The Spurs are kind of in an interesting place right now because one interesting note that I think about them this year is that they're.
And you know the Spurs as good as anybody. You've written on the Spurs.
I guess I know the old Spurs better than anyone else.
True.
I haven't watched a lot of Devin Vassell tape recently, but
what's your take?
Well, just one interesting note. We can talk more about it later, but because we've got like 40 seconds left. But they have a $150 million payroll this year, which is one of the lower in the league.
Yeah.
But in tonight's game, I think about $100 million are going to be coming off the bench for the Spurs tonight. Is that they've got these players on long-term big contracts, and they're opting to play a lot of them off the bench in favor of Castle, the rookie, and Wemby, and Julian Champagny, who we know a lot about. So anyways, I think that part's interesting for them. We're coming back in about 5 seconds or so.
Toshiba Studios.
This is Sacktown Sports 1140.
Welcome back in the game night right here, Sacktown Sports 1140. Halfway through, we'll take you until 4:30 tonight. Get you ready for Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross is in with the high flyer for that. 5 o'clock tip tonight, Kings and Spurs in San Antonio. G-Man with the call. If you want to join us, 916-339-1140. We're in our chat room there as well. Just go to our Sacktown page at YouTube. Game night being brought to you by the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sacramento. If if you're looking to become a volunteer mentor to a kid who could use that outside mentor, Big Brothers Big Sisters is the place to go. For just a few hours a month, you can impact a life of a child. Called 916-646-9300 or visit bbbs-sac.org to learn more about it. All right, we'll go around the league. Let's just continue with our conversation with the Spurs and Popovich. Obviously, Greg Popovich might be the greatest coach ever in the NBA and all of basketball. I mean, that's how held in esteem he is. And when they got Wemby and got the number 1 pick, the whole talk was about Popovich being re-energized and probably staying along to develop this young team. It's not just Wemby. They have a young nucleus that they're trying to get one maybe last run for Pop. And we just don't know how he is. We're more concerned about his health, obviously, than anything else right now. But it'll be interesting how that shakes the landscape in San Antonio with this young team. You mentioned Chris Paul. He's the rock right now. He's probably the de facto coach of the San Antonio Spurs.
Pretty much. I'm pretty sure everything is going to go through Chris Paul. So, Wemby is going to be in good hands. Like I said, Chris Paul is one of the best on-court generals I've seen in a long time. So, even though Pop ain't there, they should be able to play good basketball.
And it really shouldn't affect the development of Wemby in any way.
Not at all. As long as he's on the floor with Chris Paul, he should be just fine.
Yeah, Saturday against the Jazz, he had 24 points, 16 rebounds, 7 blocked shots in that game, and hit 6 threes.
The kid's a freak. He is definitely a freak of nature out there on the floor. Being able to do what he does at his size is just remarkable.
It is just ridiculous. And the upside is just unlimited. For
It is. The one thing that really I think about with all big men of his size that can do what he does is health.
Mm-hmm.
How are those knees going to hold up?
Yep.
Because we see what's going on with Embiid right now.
No doubt. And also, can his size stay the same? I mean, how much weight does he need to put on? Or would it be better for him not to put on the weight because you're talking about with the knees?
Right. I think it would. I don't think it would be advantageous for him for how he plays, Scott.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, centers could put on whatever they wanted to because they were big men.
Yeah.
Well, he plays like a guard. So I don't think it will be very advantageous for him to put on a lot of pounds. I think, he might want to get a little stronger, but as far as putting on the weight, it might be better. He's the same size.
No doubt. And when we talk about Wemby, maybe a Wemby light is Chet Holmgren, right? To similar body. We're not saying he's as good as Wemby, but obviously a massive talent in the league.
Chet is nice.
He's a great player.
I mean, hey, don't throw no shade at Chet. Chet gets the job done.
I'm not. I don't think I can put anybody quite with Wemby, but the problem with Chet, to your point, he's been injury riddled, and then he gets hurt, and the Warrior game falls and suffers a pelvic fracture.
He fractured,
and that goes off his foot from before then. So he's going to miss time again, and that's really unfortunate.
It is, and that's why I say, big fellas, when it starts coming down to being injury prone. Big guys are more adept at being out than little smaller guards,
For sure.
I mean, of course, you got to fall down a whole lot further than if you was a guard.
You're putting a lot more pressure on your legs when you're 7 feet tall.
Right.
No doubt about it. And it is a shame because, he missed 82 games to start off his career.
Wow.
Was healthy last year, but now he's going to miss extended time. I don't know what the plan for him is, but fractured.
And I tell you what, that's
not good.
That's going to change.
It says 8 to 10 weeks right now is the projected time. Yeah, does that change OKC? From being the favorite?
Buddy, that's going to change some things because he is a big part of what they do, and I would say 8 times out of 10, he's the guy that has the mismatch.
Yeah, no doubts. That's a big blow for OKC. And we've been talking a lot about just injuries right now in the league, and that's unfortunate. We know about KD being out a couple of weeks, and Anthony Davis had to leave the Raptors game with an eye injury. That seems to be something that he faces a lot. He gets poked a lot in the eyes.
Street clothes Davis, boy. Came out playing like gangbusters. Anthony Davis has the talent to be probably the best player in the league.
Yeah.
But it's always been a question about him. Once again, another big guy.
Yeah.
can he stay healthy? And it hasn't just been knees and ankles for Anthony Davis. It's been everything for him.
Yeah. And this is a serious question, but why don't all big men wear goggles? Have you played in goggles before, or is it just so tough to get used to? I mean, everybody wears mouthpieces.
Well,
why not goggles, especially for big men?
I have had to have goggles at one particular point.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's and I know I played the dinosaur ages, so they got a lot more technology,
sure.
and the lenses and stuff don't have the glare and all those other things.
Right.
But I didn't like them because I had a strange glare.
Yeah. Okay.
When you hit the lights,
right.
Or sometimes like when you try to get out the side peripheral, you got a glare. But these guys got so much technology now. Right. That it should be like just wearing a pair of contacts.
You would think so. I mean, baseball players hated wearing helmets in one era, right? I mean, it's just like it feels like with the technology and just we saw it with Rashad Holmes.
Right.
All the eye injuries he was taking. He eventually tried to wear goggles. You would just think, especially for big men, you're always getting poked.
Right. Sabonis too. I mean,
absolutely.
Sabonis
he's always getting his contact lenses knocked out. We saw it again last night.
Hey, he keeps the contact lens out, and he keeps a black eye.
Yeah.
Sabonis during the season, Sabonis keeps a black eye and at least 2 or 3 scars right up under the eye.
And I don't know his eye condition, but the thing I think about with Sabonis, why don't these guys get laser surgery? I mean, what's the desire to wear contact lenses? I mean, I don't know in his case, obviously.
Might be a different type of stigma.
Right. But of course, most people's eyes can be corrected in a matter of about 30 seconds.
I was about to say, don't we got LASIK as a sponsor?
We've over the time. I'm sure we could find one for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he goes to that 10 times a year, it feels like, right?
Oh, easily. Yeah. Easily.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, let's go around the league, get you caught up on the games tonight. You got the Cavs and the Bulls. So the DeMar DeRozan-less Bulls, who are 4-6, they still have Vucevic, they still have Zach LaVine. The Cavs are 11-0. They are rolling. It's the best start since the Warrior team that won 73 games.
Hey, they are putting together some great basketball, and it starts with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is playing MVP caliber basketball. Yeah. And then, Darius Garland is playing very nice. They got the big fella down there. Mm-hmm. His afro, he blocking everybody's shots, grabbing all the rebounds. They got a very nice crew.
They do. I think they're legit. I don't think this is just something where they're getting off the kind of a magical run. I think they're going to stick.
Long as they stay healthy.
Yeah. Well, that's everybody.
Long as they stay healthy, I think they're going to be very, very competitive in the East.
It'll be interesting to see if they can be a threat to the Celtics down the road. The Bulls, I don't know what they're doing. Obviously, DeRozan did not re-sign. They didn't really make a splash anywhere. They're trying to get Lonzo Ball healthy again. Right. But, the Bulls just seem to be another team that's just languishing, looking for the deadline.
At 4-2.
They're 4-6.
Oh, I thought 4-2. 4-6.
Yeah, 1-3 at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Wizards and Rockets tonight. You've got the Nets and the Pelicans, and you have to say right now, and it's early, but right now the Pelicans might be the biggest disappointment in the league, largely based on injury also. But this was a team last year. Obviously, Kings fans know painfully what their upside is, and I think this was a team that they thought going into the year with full health and getting DeJounte Murray, I mean, they would get off to a great start, and right now they're struggling.
You would have thought so, Scott, but do you blow it up already? Because, I would say this. I would say yes, if they wasn't in first place before everything happened with all the injuries and everything.
Yeah.
Those guys were fighting for first place, and then guys got injured, and then everything started going downhill. Mm-hmm. So, you bring Javonte Murray in, and that's a definite upgrade.
Yeah.
You keep everybody else. You keep BI. You keep Zion, and you got CJ and some of the complimentary guys on the team. I would say stick with it.
Okay.
I would say you have to stick with it and see. Hopefully guys get healthy. Hopefully you could get them back. But you just can't. I mean, it's kind of like Phoenix. You really can't just throw it away just yet because you haven't really got a chance to see if they can play together.
No, Phoenix is all for broke this year. They were working to your point there. It'll be interesting. Ingram's been kind of a malcontent in New Orleans. It felt like he got the offseason contract, so maybe that subsided too. But it's been rough sledding early on for the Pels, no doubt. And Zion, you never know.
That's the thing. I mean, you have too many guys that you have question marks over their heads. Like you said, B.I. got the contract, but he wasn't happy there. Yeah. Right. Now, is he happy now? Maybe. You never know.
Who knows?
Zion is going to always be up and down because, he got drafted there. And I'm pretty sure if you don't win, he's going to be a guy to be like, well, I want to move on because I want to win.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Before we go to the break, let's get to Tin, who joins us on game night. Tin, how are you, my friend? There we go, Tin. I got you on air now, my friend. How are you?
You're good, Scott Marsh. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's going on?
Good. For Wemby, I think that even if he's hurt, a 7-footer on the bench like that attracts a lot of eyes. And he's like a cone. You're doing a basketball drill on the court, maybe on an off game day. You're at the gym, open gym, or just shooting a personal gym. But it's nice. That's the advantage of being above average in height. And so that's no biggie for Wemby, man. I hope him a speedy recovery.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Tin, for that. Again, it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic all plays out for the Spurs and with Pop and all of that. So,
Scott, I mean, with Pop, I think we're putting a little too much on it because the guys know exactly what Pop expects.
Yeah.
They know the system, they know how to play, and who's taking over for Pop right now?
I don't know. I have to look who's moving up the coaching chart there.
But you know what? You said it earlier. Chris Paul is going to be pretty much.
I think he's the de facto coach. He's certainly the on-the-floor coach.
Right. He's going to be the general on the floor, and they're still going to move along. It's not like San Antonio is, championship or bust team.
No.
They are still in the developmental mode to try to get those guys to play.
There's no question about that one. All right, we've got to get to the break. When we come back, we'll have our full injury report. We'll give you our breakdown today. Kings and Spurs. It's game night right here. Sacktown Sports, 1140.
All righty, we are live on YouTube. I'm looking it up right now. It looks like Mitch Johnson is the interim coach for the Spurs. He's one of those Spurs lifers. He was with the G League team and then was called up to the bench, but he's been with the organization for like 9 years now, it looks like.
The stability is great there in San Antonio, but there's only one Popovich. We all know that.
Sure, yeah. And
what do you think? You wrote about the Spurs and Pop and everything else. What do you think the impact right now of what's going on there?
I don't know exactly the impact of what's going on necessarily because I'm obviously not there and I don't have enough information about it. I think
you wrote about the Spurs and the era and Pop, and I know different players.
He is the only link of the old years of the organization, the glory years of the Spurs. He's the only link left to what they're doing now. RC Buford is still technically there, but he's running the business ops side now. Mm-hmm. On the basketball ops side, none of the assistant coaches are there, none of the former players. Pop is kind of that one link to what the Spurs used to be, and even all the players now are players who have been brought in within the last 3 years now. I mean, I'm looking through the 8-9 guys that are going to play tonight, and it's all players that are either draft picks in the last 3 years or free agents or that have been signed or acquired in the last few years. The one link I guess you could say is Keldon Johnson. He went to a playoff team with the Spurs, but other than that, all these players are coming in having never made the playoffs with the Spurs. The Spurs have, as weird as it is to say, one of the longest playoff droughts in the NBA right now, and Pop is that only link from what it used to be. So I don't know. It's Pop, so you assume that you're losing something from it, but this is kind of now the new guard of the Spurs. This is a completely new thing that they're trying to work through right now.
No doubt. And they're obviously building around Wemby. We get that. Stephon Castle, obviously the rookie pick who's been playing well. He's looked good early on. And then you've got a couple of veterans in Paul and Harrison Barnes who has been starting for the Spurs.
That's going to be a very interesting storyline right there. How is Harrison Barnes going to be against his old team? Mm-hmm. We know Harrison Barnes can put together one game.
No doubt.
We definitely know he can put together one game.
Maybe not 4 or 5 all the time together.
Right, but he can put together one.
It's usually the first game of the season, too. Like the first game of the season, he gives you 28 points out the gate. Harrison, actually, surprisingly, I was looking this up. He's got one of the best plus minuses on the team so far this year.
Yeah.
Chris Paul's number. They only have 2 players in the active rotation, not like late bench guys. The active rotation, they have 2 players that are net positives, Chris Paul and the guy that we all know and love, Julian Champagny.
Yeah.
But then it's Harrison Barnes is third on the team in plus minus this year. So the veteran players are the ones that are giving more contribution than the young guys. Sochan was a negative 20 before he got hurt. Wemby's a minus 17. Castle has played well, but he's a minus 16. So it's interesting. The veteran players are giving them solid minutes.
It is definitely very interesting, and why they're running their veterans off the bench right now. Again, they're in a rebuild, but I mean, I feel like with Wemby, the rebuild's a lot quicker than it would have been otherwise. I mean, the sky's the limit for Wemby. He's ready to be all NBA this year.
Oh, for sure. When you got a freak of nature on your team like that, rebuilding is a whole lot quicker.
We're just about to go. Yep. Welcome back in the game night right here, Sacktown Sports, 1140, our final segment. Scott Marshall on with the High Flyer, Henry Turner. Coming up at 4:30, Kings Live pregame. Jason Ross here for that, along with Henry. And the tip tonight, 5 o'clock. G-Man with the call from San Antonio. It's time now to get to our Gingery and Hammer injury report for tonight's game. And for the Kings, obviously the big one, Malik Monk with the sprained ankle. We've got the latest news. It's going to be at least 2 weeks, at least first reports, and then a reevaluation on that ankle sprain from last night. So the Kings will have to adjust. Obviously, their substitution pattern off the bench will change significantly over the next several games beginning tonight. For the Kings, everybody else is ready to go, besides the obvious with Devin Carter, Orlando Robinson, who we continue to hope to get back. All right, that's a look at the injury report. It's brought to you by the law firm of Gingery, Hammer and Associates. If you've got an injury, just call Gingery. All right, so we'll figure out what the Monk factor is, but let's delve into this a little bit. We've talked about Wemby a lot, but of course, it's the Kings' first chance to play Harrison Barnes. Now, it's not here at Golden One Center, so I don't know if you call it the true revenge comeback game, but we know that Harrison will be extra revved up tonight.
Okay, we can't call it the comeback game, but I'm pretty sure with Harrison Barnes, it's going to be the revenge game. Whenever you see your old team, Scott, and and a lot of players, they like to downplay it. Oh no, well, it's just another game, and it's 1 of 82. Trash.
Yeah,
whenever you play your old team, you want to give those boys some buckets. And yes, you come in with a little extra bounce in your step.
No doubt. And he'll be ready to go tonight. There's no doubt about that. It's been interesting because obviously he's part of that veteran crew on a team that is a rebuild for the Spurs. Him and Chris Paul have come in. They've stabilized a little bit. The Spurs are 4-6. I don't know if you can consider them a play-in type of team. Did they have a chance, or are they just pure lottery in your mind?
Oh, I don't know, because they have pieces, Scott.
They do.
When
they've got the piece, right?
Yeah. When you talk about the next coming, they have that in Wemby. When you talk about, like I said, one of the best floor generals, they have that in Chris Paul. You talk about one of the best coaches that have ever coached this league, they have that in Popovich. So it's kind of hard to look at Spurs and say, nah. They're going straight to the lottery, because they have some pieces to get it going. They
do, and they've got Chris Paul, who, wherever he's been, he wins. He seems ageless, and he's just a winner.
He's one of the greatest that ever played the point guard position. I will give him that.
He definitely is that. They're starting the rookie Stephon Castle, who's had some nice nights so far too. It's interesting because they do have some experienced guys off the bench. We talked about Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Zach Collins. We're familiar with him, a guy who was originally drafted by Sacramento on draft night, didn't stay here. So they've got enough to compete. There's no doubt about that.
That's what I'm saying. They have enough to where if they're playing good basketball, can be a dangerous basketball club. You know, you just can't look at them and say, okay, well, they got one good guy and they're going straight to the lottery. I wouldn't say that about San Antonio.
No. And of course, Sacramento's coming in not only on the second night of a back-to-back, but they're coming in off after an overtime performance last night in Phoenix where guys were extended. Again, DeMar, Keegan, and De'Aaron went 40+. You had Sabonis at 39. We'll see. I know it's early in the year. Understand that, but still makes it a little tougher.
You know, Scooter, it's just a back-to-back in the NBA. But I will say this, that, you know, the Sacramento Kings cannot walk. I mean, they don't have the leisure to walk into San Antonio and think that, oh, this is just an easy game. Kings don't have no easy games.
No.
They don't have an easy game. And I'm saying, even when they walking in and seeing teams undermanned, they don't have an easy game. You have to walk in and take care of business and respect the other guys because they're NBA players, because we've seen what happens when teams walk in and they underestimate those guys down there that's undermanned.
Yeah, they get pounded. That's what happens.
We've seen it up close and personal.
Too many times. With Malik out, it'll be interesting to see how Mike uses the bench. We know, obviously, Keon's going to get more minutes. He got a lot more minutes last night.
Keon deserves minutes. You know, he changes the dynamic of what the Kings do, especially defensively. You know, Keon helps them get deflections. He helps them get steals, and that enables the Kings to get out in transition and play their best brand of basketball. So, you know, whenever he's on the floor, he's a plus in that aspect.
No doubt. And you can't replace Malik Monk. He's unique, but the Kings have plenty of bodies collectively to eat up the minutes.
You do have bodies to definitely come in because, you know, we've had a log jam at that backcourt position. So, you know, you can't say, well, I don't have the bodies to do it. Yeah, you do. But, you know, like I said, at the end of the day, it just depends upon how Coach Brown is going to elect to play these guys.
No doubt. And I think this is a night and maybe a period where Jordan McLaughlin finally starts to see more minutes for the Kings.
He might get some substantial minutes. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. You know, run that and use a different combination, 1-2 in the back, you know, in the backcourt. So we'll see on all of those things. All right. As we wrap up here, other things you're looking for tonight from Sacramento.
Well, of course, we just came off a Herculean overtime game. And I'm hoping the guys still have something left to play this back-to-back. They should, though, Scott. I mean, you know, these are NBA players, bro. And it's not like this is the first back-to-back these guys have played. No. It's part of the game. And you can't look at this game and say, well, oh, they played hard last night. No, this is the NBA. It's a part of it. So they need to come out and bring their A game and keep doing what they do when they hit the road.
No doubt. In the case of Damari, played the most minutes of his career last year. So it's not like these guys aren't in great shape. All right, that's going to do it for game night. Henry, as always, great to work with you. Have a great call tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right, coming up next, Kings Live pregame. As we mentioned, Jason Ross is here for that. Dave Deuce Mason's here. Also, you're here, Henry. Everybody's here. Keep it tuned right here. Tip off 5 o'clock tonight. G-Man with the call. Kings and Spurs. The first chance